This new book, it's The Making of a Billion-Dollar Athlete by Brian Windhorst, LeBron Inc. And I have a copy of the book, and I've been kind of getting through it as fast as I can. There is so much intriguing stuff, and it fits in perfectly with the week that the Lakers and LeBron has had and the playoffs all getting underway. So we'll bring Brian Windhorst from ESPN into the show, his new book, The Making of a Billion-Dollar Athlete, and he joins us now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Brian, welcome back. How are you, man?
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously you have been around LeBron and followed him through all of his stops in the NBA. And, you know, I this week especially, like I always thought about this as he went through this trying year for him and wondered if he looks back. First, let's start with this. Why L.A. for LeBron? Was this a basketball decision? Was it more of an off-the-court business decision? As you write, about this billion-dollar athlete, was this more about LeBron off the floor or LeBron the basketball player?
Well, it wasn't a whole basketball decision. And I know that he would never say that because people would use it against him. If it was only about basketball, if the only thing that mattered to him was playing on the best team, he probably would have signed in Philly or maybe gone to Houston. And really, Denver was another team that was dying to just pitch him. Think about Denver. Denver was the number 2 team in the West. Think about if they'd have gotten their wish and gotten LeBron. But, he wanted to live in L.A. He's got a lot of investment in the media business and the entertainment business, which obviously is based there. Of course, it had non-basketball aspects of it. Now, I will say this. His last decision when he came to Cleveland, that wasn't all about basketball. There was, the Cavs had been terrible the previous 4 years. And they had Kyrie, but they hadn't proven anything. That was about family. That was about reputation. Doing something that's not totally about basketball isn't unheard of. But I do think that there was a little bit of hubris there, that he and the Lakers, too, thought that his just arriving would all of a sudden turn things massively around. Clearly, there was injuries, and that had an effect, but also this did not go the way the Lakers had planned. Even if they were healthy, that was not going to be a really good team this year.
No, Brian Windhorst is with us. The season's over. The first time in 8 years, he will not be in the finals. He won't even be in the playoffs, which I'm imagining the NBA is probably not too thrilled about ratings-wise. You think LeBron looks back at this year and has regret about this with Magic stepping down and how this season went?
Well, I think it's a little bit early to say regret. Obviously, the season didn't go the way they thought. But when he got there, he knew that the play was for them really to be more competitive in 1920. I think their plan was, maybe get into the playoffs this year. The Lakers hadn't been there in years. Get into the playoffs this year, maybe get to the second round, be a real tough out, go get somebody in free agency. Maybe Durant leaves the Warriors, weakening the West, and now they've hit the ground running in 2019-20 season. Obviously, that didn't go that way. They were banged up and all that stuff. They've got free agency left. So I think a year from now, if they're sitting here a year from now, whether they make the playoffs or not, but not really close to being a championship contender, and LeBron's, maybe doesn't have another great season, and he's got 1 year left on his contract instead of 2, then I think you could ask whether it's a regret. But I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt that this was a one-off season, and we'll see how that plays out next year.
Brian Windhorst, the book, The Making of a Billion-Dollar Athlete, LeBron Inc. It is a New York Times best-selling book right now, and I know my producer Josh, he is thumbing through it, and I've got the copy sent to me the other day, and I'm looking forward to it. And one of the things I know with this Magic thing just happening this week and having you on, there might be some new stuff here, but I'm sure you could add that chapter in part 2 of this whole thing, the relationship with Magic. It seemingly wasn't that important for him to go and leave the Cavs, right? So Magic not being there is not a huge impact on the way LeBron, he can't have a no trade. So he would not try to force his way out of this thing should things go bad because Magic's not there, correct?
Right. I don't want to disrespect Magic. I want to be clear. But he did not go to the Lakers to play for Magic. I think it was attractive to him that Magic was there. But he had almost no relationship with Magic before this. And I think the hope was that they could work together to remake the Lakers into a serious contender. But not having Magic, I think, is not a huge impediment. I think what LeBron really wants is prudent, smart, effective leadership that helps his team get better and get more competitive. That's what I think he's looking for.
Well, it's weird because, he never seems to be very close with a head coach, right? I mean, it seems like he doesn't let these guys kind of do their thing or kind of, have a strong role. Why do you think that has he had a coach where he was really like, this is my guy? It doesn't seem like, I can't think of one.
Yeah, there was one, Mike Krzyzewski with Team USA.
Oh, okay.
And by the way, that started out. It didn't start out well. This is one of one of the things that you see all the time is LeBron got this coach fired, or LeBron wants this coach fired, or LeBron wants this coach hired. It's never that black and white. Okay. LeBron is very passive-aggressive with coaches. And sometimes in the past, his teams would love him to actually say, I want this coach hired. Because if he was fully invested on a coach, people want to use that against him, like, oh, he's running the organization. The Cavs at times would have been thrilled if they said, all right, who do you want us to hire? We will hire him, and now we will expect you to support him no matter what for the rest of your career. But he's never going to fully support a coach because he's always going to want to be able to have the maneuverability to basically try to enact his will. That's always the way he's operated. He has perfected the art of giving influence without taking ownership when it comes to personnel decisions and coaching decisions. So if you go to LeBron and say, hey, do you want to be coached by Ty Lue? He'd be like, yeah, I love Ty Lue. Great guy. Doesn't mean that they hire Ty Lue, he's going to defend that decision come hell or high water. And you may say, well, damn, that's really frustrating. That's very difficult. Like, why do you have to be that way? Because he's LeBron James and he can.
Brian Windhorst, The Making of a Billion-Dollar Athlete, LeBron Inc. is the book. Did he, and will he have input on the Lakers roster?
So to me, it doesn't matter whether it was his decision that Magic ratified or Magic's concept that LeBron ratified. I'll give them both blame for it. They had a formula that it took the Cavs and the Heat 8 or 9 years working independently to put together of how to make LeBron a championship player. And it worked for the last 8 years. I know that people mocked Cleveland. Even Magic mocked Cleveland this year. He says, we're not Cleveland. Well, mock Cleveland's weather, mock Cleveland's people, whatever you want. That they knew how to put a team around LeBron.
Right.
And they took that whole formula that Miami also really pioneered, and they shoved it in the trash, and they said, we know better. And that was Laker exceptionalism, LeBron hubris, arrogance, whatever it wants. As far as I'm concerned, they're both guilty of that. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it is Magic and Rob Pelinka's jobs as basketball executives, operations guys, to put the team together. Even if they had stayed healthy this year, it's a flawed team. Maybe they still make the playoffs if they're healthy, but that team was going nowhere. They were totally wrong put together. It was clear as a bell in July when they did it, and it only became more clear and more obvious as the season went along.
The book chronicles the low point of LeBron's career, which many people, that's when they took sides, whether they loved LeBron, mostly Miami fans, or hated LeBron, NBA fans who thought that this is a decision that looked bad. What was the genesis of all that, and what did he learn from it?
Well, here's the thing. LeBron believes that he is criminally undercompensated. Even now when he's making $40 million a year, I mean, what's his value to an NBA team? It's probably $100 to $200 million a year conservatively. His value to the league is over the course of his career is probably in the billions, and he's just not compensated that way. So over the course of his career, one of the things he has really tried to do is take ownership of as many things as possible. Ownership of a company that wants an endorsement contract, like, for example, Beats wanted him to endorse their product. He said, I'll do it, but you got to give me a piece of the company. And didn't that work out nicely when they sold for $3 billion? Someday he wants to be an NBA owner, but he can't do it as a player. So what the decision was about was taking ownership of an announcement. He didn't want to give it away for free. He didn't want to give it to Twitter, give it to a press conference, give it to a reporter. Why not capture the value and not give something that I could profit off of. And not only that, he was going to take the profit and give it to charity. So the concept actually, I think, was pretty next level for athletes who maybe don't get to get taken care of the way they should. The problem was, again, a little bit of arrogance, a little bit of hubris that he could do that by himself, and that they didn't need help. They didn't need the league's help. In some ways, they didn't need ESPN's help. They got the airtime from ESPN, but didn't let ESPN produce it, wouldn't listen to anybody on how to put it together, did it himself, and the product was just a disaster. But the concept was, I think, very smart, and they've worked on the concept and learned from their mistakes, even though it was very, very damaging to him, without question.
No LeBron in the playoffs. The NBA can't be that happy about it. We'll see how the ratings. I'm interested to see. LeBron typically goes no social media. I'm interested to see if he follows along.
That's a great point. Yeah, I mean, ever since he's really ever been on social media, he's been in the finals.
Right.
So, I mean, is he going to show up at games? Is he going to? I don't know. I'm anxious to find out myself.
I'll leave you with this because Joel Embiid has been really. He's got to be the story of the Eastern Conference playoffs right now. Is Philadelphia the biggest boom or bust story in this year's playoffs?
Man, I mean, especially considering 3 of their 5 starters are free agents. When those 5 guys are together, they've been awesome. They just haven't been together. And, Embiid was on my MVP ballot. You're talking about a guy who's an MVP candidate. He was first-team All-NBA. If you don't have your first-team All-NBA player contributing significantly, you just don't have a chance. And that's why this year in the East, I could make a case for all 4 of the teams why they're going to win the East. I could make a case for all 4 of the teams why they're going to lose the East. And they've all got major stars, and they've all got free agents that where there's pressure. Milwaukee, their big guy is signed, but their other players are free agents. There is a lot riding on these playoffs. It's more than just the winning of the games. There's a lot of the future of the East riding on these playoffs. And 2 of these teams are going to be really good, really expensive, loaded. They're going to be home in the second round. Yeesh. I mean, maybe somebody gets upset in the first round, but they're going to be 2 of those teams are going to be home in the second round, and a lot of soul searching. This is going to be anxiety ridden, especially in the East.
The Making of a Billion-Dollar Athlete, LeBron Inc. is the book. Real quick, Brian, do you think there's an eye on Brett Brown in these playoffs? Is it fair to assume that they've got to do X, Y, or Z with this roster, only 10 games together?
I mean, we just got to see how it goes. Does he have Embiid? Does he have his team? This has been a very challenging season for him. The Markelle Fultz thing was very difficult. Then you have 2 major trades. I think when you're looking at the Sixers, the real big question is, how much are you willing to pay to keep this team together? The coaching thing is almost secondary to me, because to me, you have to decide whether this particular core is worth spending the hundreds of millions of dollars on. Because when you add in Ben Simmons, who's going to get a contract extension this fall, I would assume, you're looking at, in the neighborhood, especially with Embiid coming, if you're looking at probably the neighborhood of 400 to 500 million, you're going to have to commit to the starting lineup. Is this a lineup you want to commit that type of money to? That, to me, is the big question. I don't know if you're going to have enough data. I don't know if they're going to play enough together where you're going to know. And I don't know whether or not, Josh Harris and David Blitzer are going to be in the mood to gamble. It's really going to be a challenging thing. And, Brett Brown is a part of it, but he's certainly not all of it.
The book, again, it's LeBron Inc., The Making of a Billion-Dollar Athlete. Brian Windhorst, who's been along with LeBron, Cleveland, Miami, L.A., all throughout his NBA career, wrote it. You should all check it out for these NBA playoffs. And, Brian, we appreciate you stopping by the show.
Really appreciate it. Have a good day.